Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing great. Getting ready for our epic nor'easter snowstorm. We're having this big issue with the kids because they were telling them, listen, these days, snowstorms, no snowstorms. You could have school on Zoom. What's this snow day business? And they say, no, school on Zoom is still school. We need our snow days. So we'll see what happens. But either way, they're coming home early. I hope you're all safe and prepared for this storm. I'm going to enjoy your time with your family. So I'm not sure if you've been reading in the news, but Stoudemire would be the right way to pronounce it, who was a basketball player for the Knicks and the Phoenix Suns. He was a six-time All-Star. He was a Rookie of the Year, I think. And later on in his career, he went to play for Hapoel Jerusalem, helped them win championship. I think he became a part owner, and just I think last year he played for Hapoel or the Maccabis in Israel, and helped them win a championship. In any case, his new career brought him back to become a Brooklyn Nets development coach. Now, Amar'e, a few years ago, decided to immigrate to Israel to become a citizen and to convert to Judaism. And not only did he convert, but he converted halachically in a traditional way, and he's Shomer Shabbat. He keeps Shabbat. And he wanted, in order to be the development coach for the Nets, he made a deal with them only on the condition that he doesn't work on Shabbat. And just this week, Adam Stein of the Nets tweeted out that they came to a resolution and they figured out a way to allow Amar'e, whose Hebrew Jewish name is Yehoshaphat, which means to judge, justice, and they're going to let him be the coach of development, and he's going to be able to do it while still being Shomer Shabbat, which was remarkable. I think it's the first time in the history of sports where you had a player or a coach be Shomer Shabbat, which is not an easy thing in the sport they're playing. Remarkable story. You could read up about Amar'e and what made him become a Jew and how he was inspired to continue his spiritual quest and journey and his history as a player. But it made me think of it because this week's Torah portion we read about Jethro. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. And after the Jews came out of Egypt and God split the sea and God gave them the Torah, Jethro comes to visit Moses. And it says that the Torah tells us that Jethro heard about God taking the Jews out of Egypt, and he came to visit Moses. And there's a lot of discussions of what happens when he sees Moses. We could speak about it on another day. But the Talmud asks the question, or the Midrash, Ma Shmua Shama Oba. The Talmud says, what did Jethro hear that made him come? And there's three opinions. One opinion says that Jethro heard about Amalek. He heard about how last week's portion Amalek came and tried to fight anti-Semitism, fight with the Jewish people. The second opinion says, no, he heard about the giving of the Torah. And the third opinion says he heard about the splitting of the sea. So the question arises, I don't understand. The Bible tells us clearly what he heard. He heard that God took us out of Egypt. So why is there these three opinions? And what's the significance of the three opinions? And the rabbis tell us a powerful answer. You see, yeah, Jethro heard that God took the Jews out of Egypt. But for that, he could have stayed in Midian as a priest and sipped a pina colada on the ocean and still heard about the Jewish perspective. But what made Jethro go from a spectator to a player? What made him pick himself up and leave his comfort zone in Midian and come to the Jewish people in the desert, in the barren desert, and be part of them? And the answer is threefold, and it's an answer of our perspective and our relationship to Judaism for all of us. The first one was Amalek. You think about Amalek. The Jewish people had just been oppressed for 80-something years. They were butchered. Their babies were drowned, soaked in blood. They were in a no man's land. They had nothing. Yet Amalek came to fight with them. What was Amalek's reason to fight with them? It wasn't a territorial dispute. The Jewish people didn't own a piece of land that they claimed was theirs. It wasn't about money. The Jewish people weren't wealthy. It wasn't about any of these things. What made Amalek fight the Jewish people? It was the old adage of pure anti-Semitism for no rational reasons. You know what sometimes we say? You see the people who hate someone, you know who they are. When Jethro saw that irrational hate for no reason towards the Jews that goes through history, the Hitlers, the Cossacks, the pogroms, the Romans, he said, this is the people I want to be part of. If they're hated so much, there's got to be a reason. Comes along the second sage in the Talmud, says that wasn't enough. Just because of anti-Semitism, it was the Torah. When Jethro saw the Torah that God gave the Jewish people, when he saw the focus on justice, on kindness, when he saw the mitzvot of Shabbat, of Tefillin, when he saw the beauty, the rich heritage of what it means to be a Jew, when he saw the focus on education, on study, Jethro said, I want to be part of it. I want to leave my comfort zone in Midian, and I want to be part of these people. Comes along the third opinion that says it was even greater than that. Anti-Semitism could sometimes push us to be more Jewish, even the education of the Torah. But what really got to Jethro was when he saw the splitting of the sea. The splitting of the sea represented the supernatural survival of the Jewish people. If you think about the Jewish people through the ages of thousands of years, we survived against all odds again and again. Every nation, every people fell and succumbed. But the Jewish people always miraculously survived. If it was a splitting of the sea, if it was Pharaoh, if it was the Romans. And you go throughout the history. Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people have a supernatural, miraculous survival. And when Jethro saw that, and he saw our lives, he said, I want to be part of this. Sometimes, throughout our history, that's been the argument of three segments of the Jewish people. What makes us Jewish? Is it our fight against anti-Semitism? Is it our education and our values of Torah? Or is it our miraculous survival? And the truth is, it's all three. It's all three of these reasons that make us who we are. And that's something we need to celebrate and cherish. Just like Jethro got out of his spectator zone to get in to become a player because he recognized these great values and powers of the Jewish people. I want to tell you a story that I heard yesterday, which is a remarkable story. It's about a rabbi friend of mine, Rabbi Mendy Cohen. He's a Chabad rabbi in Sacramento. I actually spent the summer a couple of weeks by him. What a remarkable man. And another rabbi, Rabbi Levi Welton, my age, he's a rabbi, Chabadnik, but he's a rabbi in New York City, in I think Yonkers, the Lincoln Synagogue. Rabbi Levi Welton is originally from Berkeley. And a year ago, his parents moved from Berkeley to Sacramento. And he came to visit them, and they went to shul of Rabbi Mendy Cohen, the Chabad rabbi. And after services, Rabbi Levi Welton turns to his father, and he says, Dad, are we going to stay for Kiddush or are we going to go home? And his father says, listen, we're new to the community. I'd love to meet some people. I'd love to be engaged in the community. Let's stay for Kiddush. Now that day there happened to be a Bas Mitzvah. It was a nice Kiddush. And Levi says, fine, my father wants. That's what we're going to do. They stay for Kiddush. And at Kiddush, Rabbi Levi walks over to the father of the Bat Mitzvah. His name was Chaim Vilensky. Now Chaim was a convert who recently, only years earlier, had converted to Judaism. And he says, Mazel Tov to him, congratulations, etc. What a beautiful job. And then he says, I have a question for you. He says, tell me, usually when a child is born into Judaism, your parents choose your name. But you just converted a few years ago. What made you choose the name Chaim? What was so special about Chaim? And he said, I'll be honest with you. When I was taking my classes to convert, to become a Jew, the rabbi once said something very interesting, very powerful to me. He said that if you see a survivor of the Holocaust who lost his faith, you could never judge them. What they've been through, what they've seen, we could never judge their faith or lack of it. Because if you think about the challenges, the struggles, the destruction, the devastation that they've seen, how could we judge it? But the rabbi said, if you see a Jew who survived the Holocaust and still has faith and is passionate about his Judaism, then you're witnessing an angel. For a Jew to be able to cherish Judaism and be passionate about it and have his faith after all they've seen in the Holocaust, you're seeing an angel. And it really moved me. And he says, a year ago, I was in New York at a shul, and I came to shul Friday night, And everyone was dancing by L'Chadodi, and we had our hands together, and we were jumping, and it was so passionate, so warm. And next to me was this old man. He was probably in his 90s, and he was dancing. And as we're dancing and we're schwitzing and we're celebrating Shabbos and the Jewish people and our survival and our miraculous lives, I see this guy's sleeve come up, and I see he has a number on his sleeves, on his hand. And I think to myself, look at this Jew. He survived the Holocaust, and look at his passion towards Judaism. And I remembered what that rabbi told me when I was converting about a Jew who survived the Holocaust and still has faith in God that you're watching an angel. And I turned to this Jew and I asked him, what's your name? And he said, Chaim. And right then and there, I made a resolution that when I finish my conversion, and I finally finish and have to name myself, I'm taking the name Chaim. Rabbi Walton hears this story, and he turns to this guy, and he says, tell me, Chaim Walensky, was the Jew Chaim in New York, was his last name Grossman? And he says, yes, how do you know? He says, because just last year, I became the rabbi of the Lincoln Synagogue in Yonkers, and I know this Chaim Grossman, who's a survivor, who comes every day to shul. The next day before he goes back to New York, Rabbi Walton calls up this man, Chaim Walensky, and asks him if he could come over to visit him. He comes over to visit him, and he says, can I take a picture together with you? And they take a picture. And then Rabbi Walton flies back to New York. He gets the picture developed and blown up into a big frame. And the next Shabbos, he comes to shul. And in shul, he approaches Chaim Grossman. And he tells him this story. And he shows him the picture of Chaim Walensky, who took his name. And the reason why he took his name. And he sees Chaim Grossman is crying. And he says, why are you crying? He says, because all my life I wondered, I never had children. But I survived the Holocaust, and I have a tremendous passion and love for Judaism. And I thought to myself, who is going to carry on that passion? Who's going to carry on that life, that love for Judaism, Chaim, that I had? And when you showed me this picture, I realized that this Chaim Walensky is going to be the one to carry on my name. Mashmu Hashama Oba. What did Jethro hear that made him come? The splitting of the sea, the miraculous survival of the Jewish people, the supernatural lives of the Jewish people. You think about Amar'e Stoudemire, an all-star, rookie of the year, Brooklyn Nets coach who asks to keep Shabbos. You think about this Chaim Walensky who converted and took the name of this Chaim Grossman, who survived the Holocaust miraculously and had that love and that passion for Judaism. May Hashem bless us all to have that passion and that love and that joy for our Jewish heritage. God bless you. Have a great day.